Okay, guys, we are live. So for those listening at home, welcome to the Dungeon Musings YouTube channel. My name is Kevin Madison, and I will be your friendly Dungeon Master this evening, or this afternoon, or this morning, wherever this finds you, whenever this finds you. Today, we are carrying on with our quarantine campaign, playing... Oh, I'll hold this up. Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 2nd Edition, playing through the 2013... Let's see here. 2013 adventure, Legacy of the Crystal Shard. Right here. Voila. And with me today are the Quarantine Crusaders themselves, the stars of the Legacy of the Crystal Shard campaign. I'll go the order I've got you guys on the screen here. I want you to tell us who you are, who you're playing, and since we have seen some substantial XP rewards since last session, what level are you currently? So first up is Mo.
Hi, I'm Morris. I'm playing Thomas Branner, who is a 5th level fighter. Who seems to keep dying and coming back. A bit like the old guard. That's what I watched last night.
Yeah. What level is he?
5th.
5th level, nice.
Yeah, it's a long way from 16 to 32,000, which is the next level.
Alrighty, next up is John.
Hey everyone, I'm John. I'm playing Falkroll Hawkfriend, also teetering on the edge of death, but holding on with the skin of his teeth. I'm a level 4 ranger, level 4 cleric of Solinar.
Oh, cheapers. Sorry guys, I thought I muted that already.
Someone's mocking you, John, by saying the same thing you are at
I know. It's outrageous. Next up is Dave.
Hey everyone, I'm Dave. I'm playing Lex Wiltshire, the Arrow Scrounger. He is a 4th level ranger of Myliki.
Lex the Resourceful, I think we call him now. Oh, jeez. And last but not least is Jason Hobbs.
Hello, I am Jason Hobbs. I am playing Store, a 5th level Myrmidon. Yes, the broken package from 2E.
Nice. Very nice. File complaints under Dungeon Musings at P.O. Box. I'm not going to read it. Care of. No. So let's see here. Are we on the Gamerhood as well?
I did not do it today.
Did not do it today. Sorry. I know. Also kind of rushed in here. So for those who may be joining us on the YouTube channel who are also from the Gamerhood, hi everyone from Mr. Hobbs' Gamerhood. Thanks for joining us on the YouTube channel. So guys, last session, I know I say this every time, but last session really was an eventful session. What happened last time, guys?
The battle against Barrick continued.
Yes.
We fought bravely, strongly, got people up, people went down. We lost all of our minions, and Lex got the clit shot to finish him off.
Now I'm looking at your tokens here, guys, and I don't want to tell you how to play your D&D games, but aren't your hit points supposed to be in the positive scores?
Yeah. So, a little more detail to that, perhaps. Paldrinor and the dwarves were fighting Barrick and his minions, and they all got chopped down, except Paldrinor, who retreated back towards Lex. The guys who were the dwarven minions of ours that were puking their guts out from that stinking cloud finally got themselves together and created a wall. Barrick and his guys formed a shield wall around him so that he could advance on us without Falkroll or Lex really being able to get a good shot on him. And then Falkroll got Thomas up, and Thomas went in to try and take the dwarves from behind, but they turned around on him and was slain almost by Barrick Hammerstone. And Falkroll went in to try and help Kola, who was going to get tossed over the cliff again. Took a bit of a beating in doing so, killed one of the dwarves, and they tossed Kola over the edge. We used this point of astonishing fortune to keep him from perishing.
Yeah.
Barrick and his guys, after defeating Tom, went north facing Lex and the dwarven minions and made short work of them. And Paldrinor got knocked over the cliff, and he was almost dead. And he basically, I think he made a save though, right? That was the only reason he didn't die?
Yes, it was. He made a successful save versus breath weapon.
Yeah, so Paldranor, Store, and Cola, all over the cliffside. Thomas bleeding out. Falcril and Lex, the only two left, on opposite sides of the pit, shooting at Barrick's guys, trying to take Barrick down. Got him down to, I don't know, probably about 5 or 6 hit points, and then Falcril went down. Lex only had 5 arrows left in his quiver and was pinned in the top corner of the area. Did a little bit of kiting and running to try and stay alive, but couldn't get Barrick down with his arrows. And he had 3 guys on protecting him, so Barrick did. So Lex couldn't go in there in melee. So he was scrambling around looking for arrows, pulling arrows out of bodies and shooting them at Barrick.
Yep.
Finally had no option except to like try and run past the dwarves who killed Falcril and try and get to Falcril's body. They missed their attack of opportunity. He got there and grabbed his composite bow and a couple of arrows and finished Barrick off.
Yes.
And 3 dwarves near Lex threw down their black ice axes, and we probably start from there, I guess.
Yeah. Well, no, we're actually not. What we're starting off is, so Lex, I think you are the one who is from Neverwinter, right?
Correct.
Okay, and Falcril, you're from Silvery Moon?
Somewhere near there, yes.
Somewhere near Silvery Moon. Okay. So what our scene opens on is in, you're in sort of the more forested area near there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about what your practice range would have been like. Like, where would you have gone to practice your archery? Is there a small, was there a settlement that you lived near where you would be practicing outside? Was there a private kind of area that you had? Is there a tree that you used to fire at?
Most likely he was just pretty much a woodsman from day one. So he would just practice his shots within the confines of the forest. Just
Okay.
Same tree, different angles.
Okay. So you're where our scene opens is you outside of the we'll say the small cabin where you either grew up or you were living as an adult before you took the road and become a mercenary. You were alone there. The thick woods around you are lush and green, and the sounds of the forest surround you. We see you draw an arrow out, draw it back on your bow. You carefully take aim. You say the small prayer that you always do to Solinar, and the arrow is loosed, hitting the target hanging from the tree. You hear the cry above you, and you can see your hawk is circling around. You draw another arrow, and you fire again. You draw a third, but this time the arrow is pure silver with green fletching on it. Without thinking anything of it, you draw it back and you release it. And as we hear the arrow strike the others, it first splits one of the arrows right down the... this is cinematic archery stuff. But as soon as it hits, you sort of blink, and the entire forest is covered in snow. You look up at that kind of hazy winter sky. Your hawk is nowhere to be seen. The cabin is almost completely covered in snow, and you can see no tracks leading, as if you had never stepped anywhere. No one has stepped. You didn't find. You suddenly found yourself standing here, rather than, having walked here to practice your aim. But the arrows are still sitting in the target. What do you do?
Sparrow glance up to the sky again, looking for the falcon. Profound sense of loss, noticing it's not there.
You can hear something rustling in the bushes nearby.
The sparrow glance at the arrows and then at the bushes.
And what you
make
see,
their way towards the bushes.
the bushes themselves are completely covered in snow. Like there's a thick, probably 2 or 3 inch layer of thick, puffy snow on top. And as you make your way through, you find that there's very little resistance in the snow. But the cold, the ambient cold is quite bad. You can see your breath as you're making your way along. You only get about maybe 5 or 6 strides until you see a big form, being covered in the snow as the snow is jostled loose from the larger bushes and the lower hanging branches, and an enormous black bear strides out. Brilliant, soulful eyes, a big black nose, and its fur all covered in snow. This may be, that the black bears are smaller than grizzlies, smaller than, you haven't seen any polar bears yet, but smaller than them. But this may be one of the largest black bears you've ever seen. You can see there's markings that are around brown around the side of the face. And looking at it, you think that you can see there is almost maybe a crescent or a bow shaped tuft right around the forehead of this thing. It strides out and it stops about 10 yards away from you. When you look in these eyes, you can see that maybe it's you're reading into things, but you don't think so. There is an intelligence in those eyes looking back at you. What do you do?
Dockrell takes a moment to study the bear, doesn't react hostilely. He just seems to adopt a more relaxed pose and inches his way forward, hands down, palms open towards the bear.
Okay.
And speaks to it.
As you start making your way towards it, the bear kind of and lumbers to the side and makes its way into the forest. It stops at one point, looks back to make sure that you are still following.
Dockrell does follow.
Turns and begins lumbering off. Its passage through the foliage has left a bit of a loose trail between that or a passage between that and your combination of your ranger training and your agility. You're going to easily able to follow along. So you follow, and in spite of those things, you find that the foliage is much thicker than what you expect. You're finding that leaves and trees, or the trees and the branches and the bushes are all pushing back on you. And underneath the layer of snow, like you are well familiar with traveling the wildlands in the winter season, everything here is still, once the snow is brushed away, brilliant green. And not just coniferous trees, deciduous bushes, deciduous trees. And you know that this type of thing happens when there is either a flash frost or a very early and unexpected winter. You can see his form moving up ahead of you, but he's moving a little faster than what you're comfortably able to do. You hustle your pace a little bit further, and then you finally push through a set of very closely set pine trees. And what you find is the bear is standing on, or sitting, I should say, propped on the side of this massive cliff. And from growing up, this is not the terrain that you grew up in. There's no massive cliff near Silvery Moon. When you reach the edge here and you look down, you can see a blasted snow-covered land that stretches out as far as you can see. The sky is that same hazy blue with not a cloud in it, but it's cold, even colder than before. You can see the fur of the brown bear is completely covered in like hoarfrost. He looks up at you, or it looks up at you, and it looks out, and you can see that right set out a little further. I mean, it's in the dreamy light quality of this place you find yourself. It's tough to tell how far away it is, but it seems far, but not so far you couldn't reach it. there is a jagged black spire jutting up from the ground. And you look at that, and you can feel a cold shiver run down your spine. And as that, you look at it, a wind suddenly hits you. And this wind cuts right through your clothing. It is the coldest that you've ever been. And in that sort of impossible, way that dreams can be, the cloud cover suddenly rolls in across this impossible distance. And you find yourself now being covered in thick snow. And unlike the lazy, powdery kind of snow that you found before, this is coming down in harsh, cold, cutting pellets. You stand there, your face grows numb from the melting ice, the blowing snow, and the sleet and snow that is hitting you. If you spare a look back at the bear is looking up at you as if trying to communicate something. He then looks out, and you hear the sound of a howl, some kind of vicious wolf. And it seems to be growing closer. And at that, your eyes blink, and you find yourself awake. And you're lying in an uncomfortable bed that is a little too small for your frame. But this is where you've been for the last week or so. Sorry, that's not true. For the last 10 days. Because you see, it's now 10 days since your final battle with Barrack Hammerstone. You get up. What do you make of this? You've never had a dream like this before.
Have I been awake in the meantime, or is this my first time waking up since then?
No, you've been up in the meantime, too. What we're going to be doing is filling in some of the time that's happened over the last 10 days, guys, over the course of this session.
Yeah, Falkroll never having a dream like that. He just leans over the bed, rubbing his eyes, trying to blink it away, but I imagine this is just seared into his mind.
Absolutely. Unlike other dreams that seem to fade when you wake up, this stays with you like an actual experienced memory.
So he just recollects it. It feels similar to the thing that called him to the north in the first place, but he's never had a dream like that. He feels called to the Black Spire to do something about it.
Do you have any proficiency with religion?
I think I would have. I'm a cleric. I do, yes.
Yes, why don't you give me a religion check, please? Let's see if there's any other things you can piece together. All right, so here's things you do know. Obviously, a silver arrow with green fletching is a sign of Solinar. Solinar is also known to manifest himself as or through black bears. What you also know is the wolves and winter. That is a sign. I mean, there are different gods and powers that manifest themselves as or through, or manifest their will through the appearance of wolves or things like that. The combination of those two, though, and having experienced what Storr had exposed in Bryn Shander, it makes you think of Auril. Auril manifests. One of her things is a massive winter wolf. So, you get up, and now what I'd like to do is for you to make your... Let's see how injured you were from that fight with Barrack Hammerstone. So, your constitution is a what?
I think it's 15? Yes.
15? Okay, great. So it's here, -5. So it's +1. Did you guys have access to any other healing after the fight?
We had a sip of healing potion left on me, and I had one cure spell.
Okay, so you could have brought you up and then brought Tom back? Okay.
Yeah.
We'll assume you guys did that. So...
got Cola, he would have had his full complement.
Sure. Cola's been unconscious for 10 days.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mm.
He took a hell of a fall, so he's lucky to be alive. Never mind, Okay, so then it's +1. -2, +1. 1d20 -1, please, for your mortal wounds roll.
Ooh, was bad.
Oh!
Oh,
There's a D6.
how?
Oh. So, what you've rolled is you are mortally wounded. You die unless healed to 1 hit point within 1 round. And that would not have been possible because of the thing. So, and then what the 2 is your spine is broken at the waist.
Yeah. What would Astonishing Fortune
So,
give
if
it?
you bump it up for Astonishing Fortune, you are grievously wounded. You die unless healed to 1 hit point within 10 minutes. And then it's both of your legs are lamed. A crutch is required, movement rate is reduced. So you can spend a point of Astonishing Fortune to bump up and get that result instead, or you can try and re-roll. You did roll a 4.
I say re-roll.
Okay,
Yeah,
But roll 20, you better be nice to us.
there we go.
4 points. Astonishing Fortune.
There you go.
There we go.
So recover with 1 hit point and a 1. Ooh, but you've got gruesome scarring. Impossible to impersonate another, +2 to intimidate others, -4 to all other reaction rolls.
Yeah.
So I'll let you think about what that gruesome scar is. So maybe it's when you walk over and you splash some water on your face, you have an opportunity to see yourself in the silvered mirror, and you've got a hideous reminder of what Barrack Hammerstone and his troops did to you. You then see the... as you're sort of getting yourself ready, you can hear someone outside of your chambers. And when you open the door, you can see that Thomas is making his way along talking to Store. Now, Thomas, let's see what's happened to you. Thomas, what is your constitution?
14.
14, okay. So
This
it's
is my
not...
second roll. This
So let's see here. So you... it's -5, +1. You have the healing proficiency, right, Falcaro?
I do.
Okay, so there's that. So it's...
D20 +3, the last one was, I think.
Right, but it's different circumstances now, because this is you were healed after the fight as opposed to during the fight. It's always going to be different. So, let's see here. That's -5, +3, 0. So 1d20 +1, please, and then a d6 roll.
Oh, nice.
Nice. Tom is the whack-a-mole of the group. Jeez.
Well, I can't pause March.
Yeah. All right. So fortunately, you were just dazed. Oh, hold on. 21. No, you're not. You were knocked out. You recover with 1 hit point, and with a 4, you suffer minor scarring. So again, you can decide what that is. And if you have suffered other minor scars, remember 3 minor scars equal 1 notable scar.
Yeah, I've had one before, so I don't think I've got 3 yet.
Okay. So you got 2. So, Store, you've had the frustrating position in that last fight. You know, seeing Falcaro walk out reminds you that effectively where you like to fight in the vanguard of every encounter you guys have faced, you had the frustrating position of, teetering on a ledge below, listening and hoping that your allies would defeat Barrack. And it wasn't until well after everything was done, when you saw Falcaro's mangled face, you saw Thomas's further ass-kicking he took. He's walking now with a limp that he didn't before. You were brought up and rejoined the group. And then Lex, will say that you are joining everyone as well. The other members of the group, for one, Cola is still unconscious with the healers to try and recover from this. But 10 days have passed, and there's been a lot of things that have happened in that time. For one, the black ice. There has been a substantial amount of change in the attitude towards black ice. Now, having the four of you back together, let's flash back to that scene after the fight. So we've pulled Store up. What's the first thing you guys are going to do? You've seen those other dwarfs scrambling for the black ice that was on Barrack Hammerstone. You've demanded their surrender as well too. And you find that now that Hammerstone is down and dead, his troops very quickly sort of fall in line and lose their will to fight.
Because they're not really troops, right? They're like miners and guys who have been forced into kind of a militia service.
And if you were...
They probably were like militia. But they're not normally heavy armor guys. They may be just guys that are set up. There must be like a home guard or some sort of third.
No, it's really... Yeah, because they so rarely... Like, the last big fight that the dwarves had to deal with was 100 years ago. With Akar Castle and his troops. His unholy or unnatural minions. You come to learn as well that Von Bin Ruby-Eye and his son have been taken into custody by them, and they are back down in the dungeons with where Falcaril and Paljanor were at one time.
So these dwarves, the black ice that they had no longer was, controlling them.
It still seemed as if, like, it was a struggle to get many of them to give it up, but they also seem to find, like, they are dwarves, so once one of their companions managed to give it up, it gave them somewhat of a bolstered their ability to resist it. And in addition, without Hammerstone as being sort of the center point for it, their willingness to go on, whether it's that they were able to free themselves of the influence of the black ice, or whether it was just self-preservation of, like, well, they're going to murder me. There's maybe one or two people, let's say there's about 10% of the troops that end up having to be basically forcibly removed from the black ice and then imprisoned in the dungeons underneath the Hall of Black Ice. And the reason being is because the way that they give the analogy is dwarves, it may not surprise you to learn that the draw of gold and the draw of liquor can sometimes take hold of a dwarf's spirit, and they feel that this black ice is the same thing, and they're doing the same thing that they do with those, which is to say, separate them from it and see if they can come to their senses.
Like a forced rehab kind of thing.
Exactly.
Right.
I would
so
put
Cola's
down there-
unconscious. So who's in charge now? Barrack's dead.
Well, and initially, no, it's not clear. Cola is unconscious, and so there's no clearly evident Hammerstone who would take over. Hobbs, you have something you want to say?
I was going to say, if we were helping take these dwarves down, I would certainly release Vanden.
Yep. So Vonbin and Trevok very quickly assert kind of control over this to try and help them. Yeah, what's that, Mo?
Oh, sorry, I was just going to wait till you finished. No, I think we need to send a runner over to the other side of the valley to report back.
Yep, they have ravens. That's one of the ways that they'll communicate directly across the valley.
Okay, well, we can let our friends on the other side know what's happened.
Assuming the blizzards are not as raging like they were before.
Yeah.
Did we find out how they knew to attack Vanden when they were taken?
If you asked around, yes, you did. It appears that Cola's mother tipped them off that he was plotting against.
So it wasn't Trebek. That's good news.
No. What you do find, though, is while Vonbin is insistent, Vonbin's there's two sort of lines he takes. For one, all black ice has to go. Full stop. He is opposed to it, and there is going to be some rival merchants who have grown rich that will oppose that. And Trevok kind of thinks, as well too that they should just take over where Barrick left off, but just remain loyal to Dane Silverstream. That's one thing, is that Black Ice needs to go, and the second thing is that the this nonsense about the Silverstreams not leading needs to end. The Silverstreams need to return, and that also doesn't necessarily go over terribly well in the immediate days afterwards. There's a lot of merchants that you guys can kind of, I think, Story, you've had to deal with rival merchants and things like that in Luskan before, and many of these guys are basically, they have thrown their lot in pretty strongly with the wrong horse, it seems, or I guess the wrong riding ram, and they've gone all in their support of Hammerstone and are having to sort of backpedal pretty fucking bad. You know, I never said that. I never said that Silverstream should be cast out. You've misheard me.
Yeah, so Store is not one who is going to want to get involved in the skullduggery of dwarven politics. That's why he left Luskan, right? So he would basically be more than willing to let Vonbin do whatever he thinks, and if Vonbin needs help, would help him over the next 10 days or whatever. But other than that, you know, he's not too interested in that. Is there anything else that they do need help with? Because Store really wants to, you know, get the people ready, because we have bigger fights and battles that we are going to need the dwarves for.
What they'll need is, I mean, if they're intending on forging new things, it seems that all available forges that were in the western, or the western side of the valley, they've all been retrofitted to deal with this black ice stuff, which is it burns a lot hotter, and there's some substantial changes that need to be made to get it back to forging iron and steel. So that's going to be a pretty busy thing. If Von Bin says he's happy to do that, but until they get word from Dane Silverstream, they're going to hold off making any further changes. But that is definitely something you could help with. What about the rest of you guys? What are you guys thinking of you be doing in the 10 days since the changeover?
Lex wants to go outside. I'm sure Falkrow wants to go up and see
if the storm's still raging and what's going on out there.
And also because of what we heard last time we were up there.
Absolutely.
Wants to see if there's any more signs of big leathery wings or what have you.
So once you are well enough to go outside, it's probably the day after the fight with Hammerstone. You guys do make your way outside, and it is still blowing snow. It is still very cold, but it's not quite the blizzard conditions that it was. It's certainly worse than usual. At least that's what the locals tell you, that this is much worse than ever. But this isn't so bad that you couldn't safely send a raven across the valley.
Okay. And while we're out there, we don't catch any signs or
no, and
sounds.
you have a better opportunity to actually see the sky. Like when you were out last time, it was a whiteout. Like you couldn't see more than 20 feet ahead of you. This time it's blizzarding and snowing and whatnot, but you can at least see the gray skies above.
Never thought I'd say it, but pretty happy to see a gray sky.
Better than the gray stone ceilings inside the caves.
No doubt. Your falcon is quite happily soaring, in this, even in spite of the snow.
Oh, we were able to find him?
Yeah, I mean, you never... he kept circling when you went down before.
Okay. Yeah, no, I thought when I got...
Oh, right, yes, that's right. No, so you're able to find all of your gear, and none of it was destroyed. You recover.
I'm guessing maybe Barrick had it in his chamber as a trophy or something?
Yep, he has it's a kind of menagerie they were trying to put together. But yeah, he's able to put that together, so you're able to find... I keep wanting to call him Asshole because that's the joke we started. What's his name again?
His name is Havoc.
Havoc?
Havoc.
Okay, got it.
Because he wreaks havoc on Falkrows.
Yeah, and he's a winter falcon, so he's kind of suited for the environment a bit.
Okay. Nice.
He is immensely relieved to have found the bird, and he's a little bit less on edge now.
Sure.
So he's taken special care to take care of the bird and reassure it.
Okay. So if
So-
oh, go ahead,
We
Dave.
can swap our equipment back. I can give Thomas back his short bow and try and stock up on some half decent arrows.
Von Bin will welcome your input as to what message to be sent to the Dane, because you guys obviously have a what do you call it? You guys were sent here, tasked by the Dane, and with Kola unconscious, it doesn't change the fact that you guys were the ones who were sent by Stokely Silverstream. What do you want to say in your message, your first message to him?
Get out there. We're gonna be celebrating soon. No. Eric Hammerstone has fallen. Unfortunately, we
About
weren't
that?
able to do it peacefully. Sorry?
Read what I wrote. That's what I think it
Oh.
should say.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. Then that is sent off, and I saw there was a question about the ragged. You wanted to ask about. Did you want to include a bit about that in your message?
Well, we were under the idea that the Hammerstones controlled the gateway
Yes.
to the Dwarven Valley, and so ask if anybody had seen any Rhaegar, and if not, just find out about that.
Yeah. So what you find is that very much like the eastern side of the valley, like Stokely's side of the valley, they've had difficulty maintaining contact with the people on the edge when the blizzard set in, and the blizzard continued on for about 6 days. So it was very difficult to. They had not yet gotten word from it, and now that Hammerstone has fallen, you guys will want to. Paldrenor's alive.
Yeah, Paldor didn't die, I don't think.
No, Paldrenor.
Oh,
No, he was hanging from the edge.
He's hanging
Oh,
from
right,
the
he's
edge.
another edge.
Yeah, he just
Oh,
couldn't.
right,
He just
okay.
couldn't drag himself up.
Edge hanger, another
Yeah.
edge hanger.
Paldrenor.
Imagine
Hanger on.
We were all singing "Always Look on the Bright Side of Life" at that point.
Yeah. Paldrenor has so you can get down there and you can try and recover her body, and yeah, you do, and it's not pretty. I mean, she fell probably 120 feet onto a stone floor, having already suffered some pretty horrific trauma before she fell. So yeah. It's a bit of a mess that you find when you get back, and unfortunately that's not prioritized, so it's a couple of days afterwards when the deep, the creepy crawly things of the deep have had a chance to get at her body. So but you do find her. She is indeed dead. The Paldrenor will, because he was still pretty fit, he with Ruby Eye's support, and I think with Adric going along as well too, they will agree to. Well, actually, probably Adric wouldn't go along with that. That's not really his shtick. I think there's probably a priest of Clangeddin who has kind of shown up out of the woodwork, who is, if not siding with Hammerstone, certainly wasn't standing against him. Who has agreed with some militia to go and make sure that the last remnants of Hammerstone's holdouts are gone. The other thing they want to check is I can't remember what it's called, a narrow pass. It's at the other end of the valley, and it's I think the Long Drop, maybe it's called.
Dale drop.
Dale Drop, thank you.
Yeah.
On the map.
Yeah, Dale
Isn't
Drop.
that where,
my map's covered by
that where the
pictures.
Isn't that where we figured the Rhaegar would try to make contact with the dwarves?
It may be. It's from the Kelvin's Cairn, and it's where mostly they protect against hostile ragged tribesmen and against other things like orcs and goblins and firbolgs and verbeegs, man behemoths, things like that. They haven't had word from there either, so they're going to send word by Raven to check in to make sure that is still. They don't trust the gate leading in from the direction of Brinchander because it's Hammerstone troops, or it's supposed to be Hammerstone troops, and they may still be under the influence of the black ice. What do you guys propose happens with the black ice?
Find a way to destroy it.
Trouble is, it's very, very difficult to destroy. And like I said, to even work with the stuff to make it into the metals, you have to heat it to a temperature greater than what that would damage steel and iron. So
Can
there's
they,
not.
Entomb it some way. Dwarves are great with working with stone. Can they entomb it and put a reminder on there? Maybe some, chisel out some dwarven reminder that behind here is great evil, and this is a reminder of all the dwarves who fell because of the influence of the black ice or something.
Well, I think they should take it all, forge it into a pick head, and then put it in a vault to Hammerstone. The short reign of Hammerstone and how the ice was responsible for it.
Could we find a deep cavern and just dump it all in there? But that's the second point, is there's Bruenor's Climb. It's the place where this stuff comes from. And we need to maybe
I think
investigate
only
that at some
Kola
stage,
knows
but-
that, doesn't he?
I thought he mentioned it to us. Did he not?
Yeah, I mean...
I don't remember now.
I don't think he did. I think he saw that in a vision, and he.
we'll have to wait till he.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he's been unconscious the whole time. So whatever he saw has not been communicated to you guys.
Well, let's direct the dwarves to just clean that crap up and put it away somewhere and lock it up.
Well,
throw away the key.
Well, could we find a deep chasm in the underground bit and dump it?
We don't want other creatures finding it and using it. Right?
Of course, good point.
Last thing you want to do is go down into the Underdark and face a bunch of Umber Hulks in frickin' black ice armor. Not that we're going to.
Well, I mean,
fighting
isn't
Umber
that
Hulks
kind of
sometime.
That's like putting. Oh, let's just put all the radioactive material down in this hole. That certainly won't cause any problems.
I don't know what you're talking about. No one does that, Hobbs.
So one of the concerns that Von Bin has is that, well, that this stuff, from what you've described, it calls to people. Ensuring that we have every last bit of this and none of it's left over is going to be virtually an impossible task. For those who are gripped with it, it seems unlikely that we would be able to ferret out everyone who has it. So this may be an ongoing problem for us for decades to come, if not centuries. And
It certainly does sound like a problem for the dwarves.
In the interim.
Sorry.
no, it's still a problem for you too. I mean,
Is there any indication? Well, I don't want to move on from the black ice, but we have that idea if they're going to take steps on that, or?
yeah, I think that there's a great deal of disagreement. There still are, vocal in the 10 days between when you first you guys defeat Hammerstone and when Silverstream arrives. Like the day that we started at is going to be the day that Silverstream and his entourage arrives on the eastern side of the valley. The black ice, it's undecided by that point because there's some who still think it's bringing incredible amounts of riches. They've been trading with tons of the towns or the townsfolk on Lac de Nashir, and they seem to be just incredibly in favor of this stuff.
Of course.
So we reckon that at least one of the 10 towns has maybe been infected with this stuff? Reading between the lines there?
On Lac de Nashir, there are 3 towns. There's East Haven, there's Caer Dineval, and Caer Konig.
And guess who doesn't have resistance to magic? Humans. Great. Greedy humans with no resistance to magic. That shit's going to be everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, we can tell the dwarves what happens to Cola's mother. It turned a respected grandmother and pillar of the community into an evil being. You don't want to go there.
To all
Seems like
appearances,
a perfect. Oh, I was gonna
No, go ahead, Hobbs.
say- I was just going to say this seems like a question for the Dane, your true leader, and not necessarily us. And would be willing to do with that for now. I mean, we need to rest and
Yeah,
really
think
try
we'd
to
give
figure out what
our-
we're going to do.
okay.
we give our point of view to Dane. The other thing is, I would like to search the Luskan bitch's quarters to see if she's anything interesting there. Any scrawled notes, that sort of stuff.
There
I'm
are
going to
some
suggest that to Ruby.
to Von Ben Ruby.
No,
Okay.
keep it for the Dane, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
Von
he'll,
Ben-
I think we were doing that initially, even before Dane turned up.
I know, but
Just in case
Bonben's
there
just
was
a
any
merchant. Bonben's a merchant. He's not.
So what you find is that there are notes in there, and there are what appears to be correspondence that's been hidden away in a somewhere in one of the drawers. But it is in a cipher, and I don't think any of you guys. No one's a thief here, so we don't have the read languages thing. So it's some kind of thing. If you had the key to be able to decipher it, you'd be able to determine it. But what I can tell you is the sigil that you found at the bottom of these is the same sigil, because there's two different hands that have been that this has been written in. One of them has a signature or a marking at the bottom that you don't recognize. The other one is, remember the sigil that you saw on the note from. Oh, where is it? Yeah,
The
on
rat.
the were-rat. Yeah, Slim.
Slim, the rear rat, had a note from somebody of power.
Yes, there was, wasn't there? It was
Had like a
about
wizard.
the plans.
Yeah, and it had an arcane sigil on it. And this is a
a
reminder.
wizard mark.
In the Forgotten Realms, each wizard has a unique sigil that cannot be, because of the influence of the goddess of magic, it cannot be impersonated. So whoever this wizard is that she's been corresponding with, seems to be the same person that Slick was corresponding with. It is curious that this is in a cipher while Slick's was not.
He's not
Slim?
smart enough.
Slim, sorry.
Can we check for the cipher under her keyboard?
No, it seems like something she would know.
Cipher key?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well,
You take
the
1d10.
the body when we recover it.
You take 1d10 anachronism damage. So, so let's see here. For the so Tom and Falcrol, you guys are at 1 hit point. Then you guys can all recover 30 hit points in the interim.
30?
Yeah. So you'll be at 43 Lex, and then though you guys do have access to healing spells. So assuming you're healing each other, let's assume you guys are all at full hit points.
Oh yeah, I would easily dump it into them as quickly as possible.
Yeah. And Store, you are now also 5th level, so you've seen some. Is there some way that we can tell that he's seen, an advancement in his capabilities? Something he learned over the course of this whole dealing with Hammerstone?
I think his increased knowledge and military capabilities have been gradual enough amongst his friends that they wouldn't necessarily notice.
Okay.
He's just a better.
Well, he's always thrown himself in the in the beginning of the tip of the
Heat of
spear.
battle.
Yeah.
He leads from the front. For sure.
Nice. All right. So then, what if there's anything else you guys wish to do for that period? There's otherwise you can find that Baka has, and let's remind ourselves who Baka is. Baka had some, clothing and some personal effects. Other than that, there's not really much of value that you find on her, at least not in her quarters.
So she must have another place, so that we would expect to find a spell book. I'm assuming.
Her spellbook was on her.
Oh, so when we get down to her body, we.
Yeah, the fact that you may have noticed I didn't include any magic user stuff is because none of you guys are magic users, and until Brandon, or if Brandon comes back, there's not really any point in telling you what spells there are, because none of you guys can use them anyway.
Well, I was thinking about making Store into a wizard. He seems so much like a wizard.
Yeah. What's your... Because the dual classing rules are
You have to
pretty
have a
forgiving.
17.
Not subtle and
Yeah.
quick to anger.
What's his intelligence?
13.
13, yeah. So, best of luck next life. Then, if there's nothing else you guys wish to do in the interim, we can cut to the day when Silverstream is arriving. This is all of you guys getting ready. Falcro, you've had that dream, and just like everyone else, or what the rest of the dwarves intend to do is to meet him at the gates leading into the community.
Is the dream the morning of his arrival?
Yes.
I'm gonna seek out Lex and kind of share that with him.
Sure. So how do you describe it?
I start a conversation, ask him if he's ever had like dreams so real that they just sear into his mind, and then I describe, being back where I grew up, practicing my archery, and then a bear appearing that had all the symbols of my god, leading me to an overpass, showing me a wasted winterland similar to this area and a black spire. And I got this feeling of dread and cold in the winter wolf's howl.
So you think that's just you translating what we've experienced in the last weeks and your brain just making it up? Or you think this was something really...
I've had, trauma before, nothing like this. This is just too real. I think something's calling me to stick around.
Stick around or do something about this to prevent it? Like, is that this like an omen, you think?
Not so much as an omen as a directive. Solinar's main presence is far from this place, but if whatever's happening here bleeds out further, the entire world could be at risk.
I see what you're saying.
Or
So
homeland.
you think the bear was like literally your god telling you you got a duty here to try and put a stop to this?
At least try.
Huh.
I don't know if...
Well, my friend, we may already be on that path, but it's good to know that that the powers that be seem to think we're on, or at least doing something about it. If your God gives you any other guidance, geez, let me know. I wonder if Myliki will do the same.
Here's for hoping.
So, as the rest of the... Oh, go ahead.
Tell the others? I was going to say, do you want to tell the others?
I thought I'd tell you first to see if maybe you had a different perspective on it. You're the one closest I could talk to.
I can see you coming to that conclusion, given that your God grants you gifts and you have a closeness with your God. This is definitely something. This is something we're sharing, I would think.
Okay. Yeah, then definitely bring it up with the others then.
Okay. So Tom and Store, Falcro shares his vision, or what he remembers about his dream with you guys. Do you guys have anything you wish to do before we cut to the arrival of Dane Silverstream?
So during the time that we have, Kev, Lex would have thought to like go around and grab broken arrows and like break off the arrowheads and stuff, because he's a Bowyer Fletcher and he can make arrows if we have downtime.
Absolutely.
So while the guys are resting and Cole
however many you want to carry, you will be able to craft.
Yeah, it says he can make a D6 a day.
Yeah. Again, like a lot of the merchants are sort of falling over themselves to try and demonstrate, renewed loyalty to Silverstream, for which you guys are reaping at least some of the benefits. There's the masterwork weapons that I mentioned and the masterwork armor. That actually doesn't come from Silverstream. It actually comes from the merchant community on the east side, with them trying to show you guys what a way of thanking you. Now, does everyone have... Now, you don't need to, select only your starting, like your primary weapon. If some of you guys, I think some of you guys have magical weapons already. If you want a backup weapon and have that be a masterwork weapon, you can do that. And the way we're working Masterwork is it'll either it'll give one of these 3 benefits. It'll either give +1 to hit, it'll give a non-magical +1 to hit, non-magical +1 to damage, or it will reduce the weapon speed by 1. So you guys can choose one weapon, and if you have metal armor or you wear metal armor, you can get that as well. But I think Storr's already wearing magic armor, isn't he?
Yes.
And is Tom wearing magic armor, or is he already in Masterwork? Mo?
No, he was just basic banded mail, so straight.
Okay, so you can feel free to upgrade.
Can we actually upgrade to plate?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you want to upgrade to plate,
get made.
It will be Masterwork plate 2, so it will be 10% of the weight of regular plate mail.
10% off?
10% off the weight, yeah, not 10% of the weight. It's not that good. Here's your balsa wood armor.
That is some slick masterwork. They found a vein of titanium, and they're just like, all the new dwarven armor is made in titanium.
It's got the protection of like one of those shitty balsa wood airplanes you put together as a kid. You look at it funny and it breaks. Okay, so yes, you can get that stuff. You can get metal armor, and you can get a Masterwork weapon as well. And that can include a bow. If you want to get a Masterwork bow, they can. They're still archers among them. It's not going to be magical. It'll just be a little better. So, let's see here. The other than that, then we will cut, I suppose, to the scene with them arriving. So. You can see that there's many of the dwarves, the richer dwarven families on the eastern side here have made a point of making a big, production out of welcoming Silverstream back. Some seem genuinely happy, like Rubii and his son, who are standing. You've seen that they have. You're not sure, obviously, how things were before all of this stuff happened with Hammerstone, but Rubii definitely has himself positioned as probably the most important dwarf, short of the Dane, for how he's positioned in the sort of the welcome wagon. When you guys get outside, you can find a distinct change in the weather. Falcarel, as you get out, while it's still cold and it is still blowing, the sky is a cloudless, hazy blue, identical to what you saw in your dream when you step outside. So it is a marked change. Lex, I think you probably just find this a welcome change from the constant blowing snow. Mm-hmm. It isn't long from after you guys make your positions, or take positions, that you see Silverstream's retinue arrive. And as he does, what he... now, does anyone have any kind of etiquette or heraldry stuff?
Druin does.
Proficiency? Druin does, yeah. His time to shine.
Etiquette and heraldry.
Oh, man. I do have hunting.
Yeah. For sure, making that into a mug. I do have hunting.
I have hunting too, I think.
I don't have hunting.
So what you find
and hunting.
As the there are armored the troops that arrive. They're members of the 4 dwarven gods that are venerated there as well too. There's representatives of Clangadin, of Moradin, of Baranar Truesilver, and of Dumathoin, who all show up. And Adric has taken his place next to Von Ben Rubii as well too, although he's cleaned himself up substantially from how you first met him, Falcarel. And when Silverstream arrives, the thing that when he finally arrives, after the first bit of his sort of procession arrives, you're surprised when he makes a beeline directly for you guys. And he makes his way over, and he looks up and down and says, "Forgive me. I thought, notwithstanding your efforts, that I would be greeted by a hammerstone. Where is Kola?" And he's still...
we'll explain that Kola is lying on his sick bed and has not awakened since the final fight. He took a big fall off. yeah, that central pit, whatever that's called.
So he looks over at the queen, or not the queen, but his wife, and you can see that around her neck there's an amulet that has 2 encircled rings in it. Falcarol, would you give me a religion check, please? Let's see if you can. That makes any sense to you. Yeah, so that's a symbol of Baronar Truesilver, the matron of the dwarven pantheon. She must be a priestess of Baronar Truesilver. So he nods to her, and she nods back to him, and wordlessly, the way that husband and wife who have been married for decades can exchange. She nods, and he says, "We will see to it." And Silverstream says back to you, "We will see to it that he gets only the finest of care." You can see that the rest of the dwarves are sort of like fidgeting as this is going on. Like it's he's making a point of meeting with you guys and thanking you guys for liberating this side, and leaving the rest of them to wait until afterwards.
Storm will introduce Von Ben at this point. And
Sure.
say, Ruby Eye here is the one that helped us, and we would not have been able to accomplish this feat against the Hammerstones without Von Ben and his son, and many of your loyal followers that were forced to stay behind, and like maybe start rattling off the names of the Aldrich's people who helped us and died in the final confrontation with Barrack.
Love it. So Von Ben himself is not terribly put out by this. This is, he's far too old and have seen far too much to let him get flustered by it. But Trevok is the one who's all red in the face, as well as some of the, the dwarven patriarchs and matriarchs who were less than supportive of Silverstream. Von Ben steps forward and takes a knee, "My liege." And Silverstream steps forward and says, "Von Ben, I knew I had a true ally in you. Please, rise." Then, we will... the road has been difficult, and we have much to discuss and many things to change. But you, and he turns to you four again, I would see you for dinner.
As you wish.
Yeah.
So he turns, and then he begins to sort of, he greets one or two of the other matriarchs or patriarchs, and then sort of leaves without making the procession through everyone. It's clear that, what you've heard about dwarves having long memories for grudges probably has some basis in truth.
Yeah.
So, you guys are met with one of Dane Silverstream's lackeys, and what he says is he actually wants to meet you before the dinner. The dinner is going to be for a select group of sort of favored followers, but he wants to meet with you guys beforehand to talk about the what happened and what's going to be happening next. And apparently there's been some developments as well too. So excuse me, you guys have an afternoon to sort of do what you want, and you won't be seeing him until later in the day. It seems that if you keep an eye on the dwarves who arrived or showed up to welcome him, some seem quite pleased with how things went, and some seem quite displeased. But they are being very, very careful to not vocalize their displeasure beyond some, low-level grumbling and hard looks. If there's nothing you guys wish to do in the afternoon, then we will cut to you guys getting yourselves ready. You're provided with some fine clothing as well, too. More gifts from the merchants from the east side of the valley. And they are of a distinctly dwarven cut, but they do actually fit. Like, the dwarven tailors do know how to do their jobs. It's just the style and the designs and such are very dwarvish in character. But you would suspect that these things would probably last a dog's age. So, you guys are brought not back to the Hall of Black Ice, but to a different location where it seems that one of the dwarven families has given up their home completely for the Dane until they have an opportunity to rid the Hall of Black Ice of any traces of Hammerstone's rule or the Black Ice itself. You guys are brought in, to a, I mean, the study here looks very similar to, what Von Bin's was, and you find that he's actually waiting for you in there. So as you come in, Von Bin turns around, and he says, "Oh, you've been invited then too."
Indeed.
That surprise you?
No. Dane Silverstream has always been clear with his and fair with his recognition of those who have been friends to him. So it's no surprise that you would be brought here too. I don't doubt
Glad
he
you're
would.
here then.
He nods, and you, Store, as well. Did you know that dwarves are famed as the best givers of gifts of all the speaking races in the realms?
Gifts.
Aye, and he gestures over to a side, and there's a small stack of crates, or not crates, of chests of various things.
Falcarel runs his hand over the torn up side of his face from that last axe that brought him down, and says, "Gifts would be welcome, but I didn't do it for gifts."
Oh, if forgive. Perhaps your customs are different among your people, Falcarel. A gift expects nothing in return. Payment is a transaction. Dwarves may be mostly of the mercantile mind, which makes the giving of gifts such a special and proper ritual. Again, you are not familiar with our ways, but it would be the height of insult for one to reject a gift from a dwarf.
Falcarel gets a kind of like a deep look in his eyes, and he nods and says, "I have much to learn of the dwarven ways. Perhaps some blending of ways is a good thing."
Your attitude, I'm sure, will do you well, Falcarel. And at that, the door sort of bursts open, and Silverstream steps in, and he seems more joyful than what you have probably ever seen him. And he says, my friends, you have freed our valley. Tell me." And he says, "First," and he gestures back, and there's a bunch of kegs of beer or ale that are rolled in, along with a bunch of clay mugs. They are cracked open, filled up, passed among you guys, and Stokely and Silverstream says, tell me, how did he fall?" And he seems both respectful of the fact that dwarves died in this, but also pretty eager to hear about battle. So I'm assuming you guys share the story with him of how he fell.
Store enjoys being a storyteller for sure, so
Yeah.
he would attempt to do that. Is Paldronor with us?
Paldronor is with you as well too. Yeah, he has been sort of your aide-de-camp for most of the time that you've been here. He's been gone all day now that Silverstream is back.
Yeah, and so definitely say how well Paldronor did in the battle, and that it was on the great ascent, so many fell to the depths below, and the concern that the Luskin was involved, and how the wizard was slain by our elven arrows. And
It is it's strange you say that as well. You know the change in the speakership. The great speaker in Bryn Shander is a new man. And Varish Gant, he says, and I know not from where he comes. He claims Waterdeep, but all his contacts seem to come from your town, Store.
yeah, Store's crestfallen by this because he feels like they maybe could have done something about it, but chose not to. He'll even say that we were in Bryn Shander and realized there was trouble, and instead of dealing with it, we ended up here. So it may be good that we helped here, but perhaps we could have helped there.
We say it's easy to value the coin once it's lost, harder to notice the value of a coin beforehand. How could you know, Store?
There were signs for sure, but it seemed an impossible task.
Indeed. Well, now, in our way here, I seek your counsel on that as well. We've had another come, more coming from Bryn Shander, claiming that they have rights to mine here, claiming that the towns themselves have ownership of these lands, and that the dwarves are but visitors.
Seems like more deeds for whatever evil mind is behind all these connected attacks on the cultures of Icewind Dale.
You said that they had you were from Luskan originally. Have you dealt with this Vaelish Gant before?
Only I have dealt with his ship or his house, but not him specifically.
If you've dealt with his ship, then once we talk, I may have more use of your service if you are able and willing. I would not see us go from fighting our own to fighting the folk of the 10 towns. But if a fight is needed, they will not find the dwarves shirking in their willingness to protect what is their own. If you would speak to these and see that perhaps this is simply a misunderstanding, something that can be remedied, something that can be clarified.
I can do what I can do, but I can't say that I'm necessarily the best one for the job.
Well,
I've shirked from few battles myself, Dane.
Indeed. Which makes me think that if there is no other clear way, that you will not shrink from what is needed to be done. Dwarves killing the folk of the 10 towns may give rise to conflict.
Did we hear that we're outlawed in Bryn Shander too? Didn't we hear that or something, or no? Did I make that up in my head?
We've heard no word from them. No.
No, that was a Jason question to Kevin. I thought.
Yeah, no. I don't think you guys have heard anything. I mean, they didn't.
Okay, I don't know why I thought that, but.
Yeah, I mean, they. I think that the way you guys freed, what's his name? The ragged tribesman.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was his name here? His name was Hengar. The way you guys freed Hengar, I don't think Drew, didn't make it clear that you guys were the ones who freed him. So unless they use some kind of magical means to try and identify that, whatever way that might be, your names may be clean.
I just feel like I might have dreamt this, though. I've been having some crazy ass dreams lately, so I feel like I remember this conversation that we had with an NPC that said, "Oh, we recognize you because we've seen your poster or whatever." But never mind.
The only person you've met from the 10 towns was Baka, and I don't think she made mention of that. It was the person who did most of the talking was Hammerstone. Yeah, Barrack. So, you guys, Lex... Oh, go ahead, Mo.
I was going to mention to Dane, assuming he's talking to us about this, that we noticed some correspondence from the Luskan bitch, whose name I can't remember, and we did have a run-in with someone else from Luskan, and some of the correspondence had this same wizard's sigil on it.
Yes.
And explained that we had a run-in with Slim, the we're at.
Do you think I know not much of it, but I know that there is a alliance of wizards, the Arcane Brotherhood, said to come from Luskan. I don't know much of it, but you think that may be associated. Now, Story, like, the Arcane Brotherhood effectively runs Luskan, and the ships all sort of, they do pursue their own interests, but they also sort of act under the interests of the competing rivals within the Arcane Brotherhood. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, like, it would not be a surprise to you if a member of the Arcane Brotherhood... In fact, it would not be a surprise to you if Baka was a member of the Arcane Brotherhood.
Okay, yeah. That's what I think I'd already decided that as well.
Yeah.
But we're gonna. I think it just is more evidence that that a single hand may guide all of the troubles that is befalling 10 Towns and Icewind Dale.
Yeah.
It involves Kessel. It involves, the Black Spire, the White Witch, the lycanthropes that are attacking Bryn Shander.
It worries me. We've had no word from your friend, the Ragged Tribesman. No word from them. Nor have we had chance to send scouts to seek out what may be befalling the tribesmen in these harsh winter conditions.
Have you ever sent ravens to them?
No. Our dealings with them is so few and far between that we have no way of directly sending it to them. Truth told, we typically keep to our own, perhaps to our detriment. You've shown the value in and the assistance keeping our doors open to the outsiders. A lesson that Brunor Battlehammer learned a century ago, and he taught our people, a lesson we seem to have forgotten. Your friend, the Hammerstone, he has been taken quite poorly by that fall. But it is a benefit that he is not here, for there is something I would discuss with ye as well. I've come to learn that his mother has died as well. With his uncle gone, his mother gone, he remains the only Hammerstone. The only Hammerstone of note, at least.
But I thought the Hammerstones weren't really of note before all of this anyway.
No, but once a name is known, the name is known. And it's not his position that worries me. Having spoken to Kola before, I feel I had the measure of that dwarf. He did not seem one seeking power or position. The concern is, and he looks over at Von Bin, and Von Bin says again, "You may not know our ways, but Store, we spoke of the importance of family and the value that our people place on such things. Yes? Mm-hmm. You proved yourself quite astute. Hammerstone, Kola Hammerstone, appears to have been, though indirectly, responsible for his mother's demise, and his companions, though acting in the name of the Dane and in good faith, killed his uncle. Custom dictates that the blood of such things would not rest on your hands, But there are many among our kind who would see his hands as behind those deeds. And though needed it may be, and though grateful I am for him in taking those steps, he is a killer of kin.
Well, we talked to Cola about this, and he was taking it pretty hard. But he didn't kill his mom. His mom died of what was it, a fungal infection? Some kind of a wasting disease?
You see
And
that Von Bin and Dane and the Dane sort of exchange a look with each other, like, okay, they're... And he looks back and says, I understand, friend Lex. I'm making sure you understand how our kind will see this.
Yes, the truth doesn't always matter. Perception does.
So the people will think that Cola is a killer of kin.
I don't know his reasons. This is the Dane speaking. I don't know his reasons for taking the road so long ago, leaving his kin to take up a life of adventure and travel elsewhere. We would not... It is not what most dwarves would do, but we don't necessarily look poorly on it. But, and one who is called by the Lord of Battle, how can you question such things? But...
Can we take our mid-session break?
Yeah, we're taking our mid-session in just a moment here.
Because Andrew's home early, and I just told him in Discord to join us.
Oh, nice. Yeah, if he's back early, then yeah, we can take our mid-session break now and have him come in. No, that'd be great. Let's see. Is he... is there...
Yeah, in the Crystal Shard.
Yep.
Yeah, it's about a minute ago.
Okay. So I will repost the link here, see if he joins us. Boom. Okay. Yeah, then let's do that. Yeah. He may, suddenly walk in, and because I think this is definitely going to affect him as well. So
yeah. Nice.
Well, not as well, him in particular. So yeah, let's. So for those listening at home, we're just gonna take a quick our mid-session break now. Ooh. Wait, what happened here? Hold on. Oh, it's still showing. Okay, it was showing stream offline for some reason. Do not know why. Let me refresh here. Let me just see if I see... Yeah, Jobs has just told him in chat, join us. All right, so let's see if he joins in. Oh, we've got a couple minutes here.
I like your paraphrase, Kevin.
Yeah. That's... All right. Then, okay, for those listening at home, we'll be back in a couple minutes here. Just going to take a break, refresh our beverages, and then we'll be back to see what happens with the Hammerstones momentarily.
doing here, Maze? I leave and she's sitting in my seat like she's Callie jumping in your chair. It would be kind of funny if it was Callie getting back from what she used to do to Cleo.
All right, sorry about that, guys. Let's see here. Oh, so Andrew, if you are watching, session's not almost over. We got another hour and 15 minutes left in the session, so you're welcome to jump in once you're done your packing. But let's carry on. Oh, shit, I got my coffee. Hold on. I need that.
Andrew, say no go.
We'll convince him.
Tried to say no go, but I told him what Kev just told him. Another hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah, sorry about
Trash in here.
that. Peer pressure, peer pressure. Love it. All right, and howdy to Brian. Howdy, howdy. Ice King, what's shaking? Cast Magic Missile, you got it. Fred, welcome. Howdy, howdy. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And Andrew, of course, howdy, howdy. So, guys, let's get back into our chat about this. And if Cola makes a sudden appearance, where we left before we took our very brief break there was we were talking about the impact that the events of the last couple of days are likely to, or last couple of weeks, I suppose, are likely to have on Cola's status in the community. Lex, you were saying, you were saying something when we took our break?
Not really, no. We had Lex had started to talk about how he not really killed his mom, but then you went on to explain that it's the perception of the public that would be
different. And that's the thing. The in the same way that, you know, Von Bin had to ask Storr to apologize to Trevok because, you know, he was put in a position where he couldn't let a slight to his son in his house, you know, go and still, you know, maintain standing in the Dwarven community, or at least the full standing in the Dwarven community. It's a similar type of thing where just it's he's someone who's a kinslayer, you know, and it's not something that would lead him to be outcast, but dwarves, they're very boisterous about many things, and they're very clear when they're feeling certain things. They feel off their emotions in a lot of ways, but there are certain things where it is small ways that they will let someone know, that they are not welcome or that they are not part of the community anymore. And that can just, for a dwarf, that can be very cutting. What did you? This is Silverstream speaking again. What did you have in intend then after this? I know that this all came upon you quite suddenly, and you found yourself pushed into this. I guess his aunt. No, that's not his aunt. It was Silverstream's cousin was the one that you guys brought her. Audra. Yeah. What do you have planned next then? For you.
We are reaching out to the Rhaegar tribe, I believe. Greater things are happening in Icewind Dale, and they're in need of allies.
Have you experienced traveling these lands in this weather?
No, but from what I understand, it's only going to get worse.
I ask.
Lex kind of looks over to Falcrill and he's like, go on.
I know that you may be familiar with the wild lands. From what I've not traveled the distances that you have. But this is the edge of the world. This is the wildest of wild lands. The Ragged survive as they do by virtue of how determined their will and their metal is as iron. You say your friend is out there. There are hundreds of miles of open, trackless wastes filled with all sorts of things. Filled with things that would feed on your very living flesh. And now you say there is a white witch that walks among those wastes? Friends, I would only caution you. I know you wish to help your friends. That is clear from your actions, from the day that I met you until today. But do you think your friends would benefit from your death, frozen on the tundra?
What is it you have in mind, Dane? It's obvious we aren't welcome here, and you don't wish us to go there. Do you have some other thoughts in mind?
If we gave the impression that you are not welcome here, Store, please tell me what I can do to disavow you of that impression. The Hammerstones may not have found you welcome. You have proven yourself a friend of the Dwarves of the Valley.
Well, Cola is one of us. And if Cola wouldn't be welcome, then none of us would be.
Agreed.
Then...
Heck, I'll take the mantle of Barrack Slayer or whatever you want to try and publicly say that it wasn't a dwarf who did the killing blow. In fact, Barrack's men were throwing him over the cliff. Cola had nothing to do with it.
I understand what you're saying, and I understand something has to be done, and someone has to take that. But and it's okay. I mean, we were searching for a place to be when we came here, so it isn't anything new for us. We were merely helping someone on a cause, and it blew up into something else as we realized it's a much larger threat to the Icewind Dale than we originally realized. But you seem to have something in mind.
These men from the 10 towns who have laid claim to the southern end of the valley, while we re-establish ourselves here, I would appreciate you speaking to them. But before we talk about your next tasks that I have in mind. Let us address what you have done thus far. And he walks over to that stack of boxes that are with him, and they're quite. I mean, all of them are beautifully carved and of varying sizes. And he takes one of the small ones from the top and he sets it aside. And he looks over and he says, "This is for. This is something. A gift I wish to. When he regains consciousness, when he returns to us, I would speak to Kola. My wife intends for this to be his." She kind of pats the box, and then he goes back to the rest of them. And what you guys can do, I'm not going to go through for each of these things, but the list that we posted in Discord, on the Discord, that is the list of magic items and other items that he will be awarding you guys. So what you're getting is 7 potions of healing, 2 potions of heroism, 2 candles of invocation, and the potions of heroism temporarily add levels to a warrior class, whereas the candles of invocation, for as long as they burn, they raise your level as a priest. The Band of Baranar is what is in that box, so we won't learn what that is until we see Kola next. The Ring of Clear Thought, which is makes you immune to a number of different charm abilities, including fear, and it also bumps up your intelligence by 1. There's the Mask of Clangaden, which is something that can be attached to any steel helmet, which will give once per day for a number of turns equal to the wearer's level. It'll grant warriors +2 to your Thaco, and +2 to hit, and +2 to saves for that number of turns equal to your level. The Cloak of Arachnidia, that is something that was recovered from the depths. It's clearly not of dwarven make, and has a fine quality to it that seems similar to elven crafting, though of course I think both Falcaril and Lex would know what kind of elf would incorporate spiders into their design. 2 oils of timelessness, which can be used to treat products that are from living things like paper or leather or, I don't know, whatever other stuff that it was from a once living thing, bone. You could treat it, and then it causes the substance to only age a day for every 1 year that passes. So this allows books to last for centuries and so forth. A Coin of Luck, which you flip, and depending on what side it comes up, you either gain -4 AC or +4 AC. I'm going to be interested to see if anyone makes use of that. Steve would make use of that in a heartbeat. Just
Totally.
And then a Helm of Determination. It is a magical helmet. I didn't explain it terribly well in Discord, but it's a thing that gives you +4 to saves versus light, gaze, and sound attacks. It's a helmet that sort of protects your your senses. So he goes through all those things, and that is, he doesn't have anyone in mind for what each should go to, but those are his way of thanking you guys. In addition to what did he agree to pay you for this?
I remember there's a bunch of kegs of ale involved.
There was, yeah. Is anything in party notes about it?
Party
That's
there,
loot.
party loot.
Party notes.
Here we go.
Lex's notes are, "Don't be mean to John, haha."
I don't see Lex's notes. Oh, I didn't look at those.
Oh, that's in my own private note.
That's great.
I'm not. Nope. I think Arlen was our best note keeper.
Okay, let's see here. Party notes. Let's see. Okay, I don't see anything in here about.
Anything on my character sheet? Let's see.
Travelers.
Okay. If you cannot find it, I think what I'll say is that he will pay you 500 gold pieces as well.
Sounds about right.
Whatever the amount that was promised before, because you guys actually succeeded in this, he'll bump the reward up to 500. And I think that some of the local merchants will match that as well, so you guys will gain a total of 1,000.
How many players do we have in our characters?
In this one, let's see here. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in total. But Oswald has not been here for 20 sessions. So we're assuming he's not going to be... Rannon has not been here for equal... So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... assume it's going to be split 7 ways.
You know what you need to do, Kev? You need to create, instead of just Valhalla, we need Purgatory for characters that are dead,
Yes.
aren't dead in Valhalla, but they're not playing.
Yeah, not they're currently on hold. The absentee folder, I'll put that up there. Okay, so I think that's there's, you can figure there's 7. Yeah, in total.
Okay.
So 140.
Yeah, 142-ish.
Okay.
Some leftovers.
All right. Do you guys have any... Is anyone making a claim over the... let's see here. Does anyone want to lay claim over any of those specific items to start with?
Well, I was thinking there's 2 priests in the party, myself and Cola.
Yep.
So 1 candle of those each.
Okay.
Aside from that, I don't want that cloak. Even though it would be very beneficial. I do not want
Mask of Clangeddin only works for warriors?
Yep.
Now, is that just fighters, or does that also...
Rangers, Paladins, any warrior class.
Oh, so no, what the Mask of Clangeddin can also do is, if it's a non-warrior, then what it does is, for a number of turns equal to your level, it gives you a THAC0 of a warrior equal to your level.
Okay, so useful by lots of people.
The use for Cola, but he's already got something else. The band, I think, is going to go to him.
The Band of Baranar is going to Kola, yeah.
Lex will take the cloak of Arachnia. Or Arachnidia.
Yep.
If
Drow lover?
Nobody wants it.
You Drow lover?
The Cloak of Arachnidia is pretty badass. It gives you a constant spider climb. If you can activate at will. You're immune to web effects. And you can cast a juiced up version of web once per day, and you also have a slight bonus on saves versus certain poisons.
Yeah, I don't want it just because it's involved with the Drow. So.
Okay.
It seems like the mask should go to one of the 2 frontline fighters. So Mo or Store. I would say Thomas or Store.
Okay.
I'm okay either way. Definitely the guys who are. I mean, it would help with arrow shooting too, I guess, but it seems like that would be the smartest. The ring goes obviously to.
The Band of Baranar goes to Kola.
Yeah, Band of Baranar goes to Kola, but the Ring of Clear Thought.
Yeah, the Ring of Clear Thought. I mean, that would be cool because you can't get charmed, which would also be nice for making sure one of your best fighters doesn't get charmed.
Yeah.
But who the hell is Rannon? I don't remember who that is.
That's George's character. He's only showed up 1 session.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, Rannon of the Scarlet Grove.
Well, Grim, if he ever came back, I think would be the one for that.
Only because it gives you a +1, but I mean, that would be good for anyone because, like I say, you don't want your main fighters getting charmed because that's horrible.
Or fear. You know, having a frontline guy turning and running away, taking an attack of opportunity and leaving a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bad. The Helm of Determination. So that was the one that does +4 to saves versus light.
Yep, it's +4 to saves versus any light, gaze, or sound attacks. It helps protect your senses. So basically, anything that would target your senses, you get a +4 bonus to saves against that.
As an archer, I'm like a little iffy with helmets. Kind of clouds the vision.
Mm.
That's just a roleplay reason. Otherwise, I'd jump right on it.
Okay. Well, you were thinking, you got the candle of invocation. One is going to go to you. One's going to the other. 7 potions of healing. I'll let you guys figure out how you want to divide those up.
I'm taking a potion.
I'm willing to pass the mask because I don't really want Store wearing a mask. He's too pretty.
I actually might need a
Okay.
mask because of my gruesome scarring.
Hey, look who's
Ooh,
showing
let's
up
go.
here.
So I was thinking Mo should take the mask, to be honest.
Okay.
Okay.
Thomas should.
Well, guys, Cola is
The
just...
ring of clear thought to store.
Yeah, that'd be fine with me.
I suppose I can take it out.
Now I only need 4 more intelligence boosts, and I can become a wizard.
I think I'll take the Helm of Determination. Might be good. Just put it on when I need it.
Oh, come on.
Oh, Andrew, is that you?
Hola.
I see him in roll 20.
It's a bonus to saves, Jonathan. How would you know when you need it?
I don't know. Either that or pick something I'm not really going to use.
It's a helm, but it doesn't necessarily have to be like a closed face pot helm or something like that. Like it could be just a helm that you wear on your head.
No, it's crafted by dwarves, so it'll be...
Right, so it'll look like a
Yeah.
dwarven helm, but it's
Yeah.
not going to be like a closed face, 2 little visor slits.
No, it's not like a
Can't see
great
it.
helm that's got, the full thing. It's if you think... it's going to be something along the lines of what Gimli wore.
Yeah,
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
that's not too bad.
Yeah, I suppose I'll pick that and just wear it. So.
Let's see here. Okay.
Hello,
So-
hello,
Hey, what's shaking?
hello.
So, the door dramatically opens, and in staggers Cola Hammerstone, who has been in a coma for the last 10 days.
And yet somehow has managed to find a pint of ale.
Well, I think as he walks in, there's a bit of a... like when you walk in a room and everyone's been talking about you?
Oh,
That's sort of
I
the
see how it
situation you
is.
walk into. And
I see how it is.
they all sort of look over at you. What do you guys say to Cola as he walks in?
Lex grabs a pint of ale, stands up, and walks straight to Cola and says, "You've earned this. Come sit down."
So
I'll
what
take it and join you.
do you guys want to bring Cola up to speed for what's happened? I mean, I'm assuming you've been told by the people who brought you over to this. It is another one of the sort of the notable families in the valley. It has given up their residence for the Dane, while the remnants of the Hammerstone rule is dealt with in the Hall of Black Ice.
So, wait,
And-
so just to be clear, we're back on the west side now?
No, you guys have
Or they've
remained.
joined us on the east.
This is 10 days later. 10 days after
Okay.
the death of Barrack Hammerstone. So Lex shot Barrack Hammerstone through the eye, killing him.
Right. Yeah, that was
And unfortunately,
glorious.
the last thing you remember is being thrown over the edge by 2 of Hammerstone's minions.
right.
Fortunately,
How'd you
you
get me out.
You did not suffer any. Well, you have been under the care of the healers for more than a week. Or at least you've been told, you didn't suffer any mortal wounds as a result of this. We're not making you. Your character went down while you were not able to play him, and I'm not making people suffer mortal wounds because of that.
It's very generous.
Yeah, you didn't go. As opposed to Will's character was at 0 and and glued to a wall. So that was sort of when Chael in the other campaign did take a tumble. So what you've heard is Barrack Hammerstone is dead. That Dane's Silverstream is back, and when you woke up, you were sort of ushered right over here. So you get in and you can see a dwarf that you maybe knew from back in the day, but certainly someone who is from a different standing. That's Von Bin Ruby Eye, who seems to be quite friendly with your adventuring companions, and there's the Dane as well too. And they're what you walk into is them dishing out a bunch of gifts from the Dane to the rest of your group. But as you walk in, they Silverstream looks over at you and says, "Cola, you are awake."
I seem to still be among the living.
Aye. And he kind of looks over at everyone, and he says, "If I might, friends, please." And he gestures. He can see you guys, like, you're all trying things on and looking at the, the cloak or putting the helmets on or stuff. He says, "If I might have a word with your companion, Master Hammerstone, if I might." And he gestures to a door on the far side of where you entered.
Yeah, Falkworld kind of salutes Cole and says, "It's good to see you up and walking, my brother."
Thank you. I don't know how we survived that. I've heard the basic details, but I'm sure there'll be time in a tavern or a hall somewhere over a lot more of this to bring me up to speed. But I thank you for getting me out, however it was done. Aye, and I'll certainly, and I'll follow
Okay.
Von Bin or Silverstream.
Okay, so he passes you. I mean, I think you've got a clay mug of ale with you as well. He follows you guys along as well, and or he has one with him that he brings with him. Leads you out of the room, down a hallway, and he says, "Cola, those in you, did you dream?"
Did I dream?
While you slept, after your injuries.
I get quiet for a second, rather taken aback by the rather odd question, and out of the blue. Now, to be clear, I know I had dreamed previously, the first time I was captured.
Yeah, I dreamed previously. This whole time, no, it's been blackness.
Okay, not during this coma. Okay.
Yeah.
Not recently, but I mean, I had a rather strange dream a fortnight or so ago when we were either here last or when I was captured the first time. Things are a bit hazy, but I had a strange dream a little while back.
Indeed. Seems that Clangaden does have a purpose for you, as we discussed before. And he goes over and knocks on a door, and you hear a woman's voice from inside saying, "Come in." And he says, "Please." And he opens up and gestures, and you're waits for you to enter into the room. And the room appears to be the private chambers of the Dane and no doubt his immediate family. And what you see standing in there is a dwarven woman, and she's quite comely. She's around the Dane's age, so you'd guess that it's in the 160s, 170s kind of range. And she looks over, and the thing that stands out, apart from her big, blonde braids and her, welcoming look, is a amulet that hangs around her neck that is 2 silvered rings. You, of course, recognize that as the symbol of Baranar Truesilver. That is the mother of the Dwarven Pantheon. And she says, "Welcome, Kola. I have had a chance to meet you while you still rested. My name is Unibella Silverstream. The blessings of Baranar on you." And she takes your hand, and she's got a very motherly kind of look. It kind of reminds you of your mother in better days. And Dane Stokely Silverstream kind of, "Kola, I wanted to thank you personally for the steps you took to unseat your uncle. I know that in some way his actions were not likely his own, but I take it you understand the consequences of your actions. And what he's getting at, Kola, is of course that while, your uncle was clearly an evil man, or at least under the influence of some kind of evil or malicious magic, the simple fact is you killed your uncle. And directly or indirectly, you're responsible for your mother's death. And you know how dwarven society works. It is, even though it was merited, even though there was good reason to do so, you will forever bear the stigma of kinslayer. So you've never, though whatever your reasons were for leaving this place and leaving it behind, it is likely that is, dwarves don't forget. And that's just something, in the small ways that they will make you feel unwelcome, it is unlikely. This is me filling you in for the context of this, not what Silverstream's saying. But the dwarven community is never going to let you forget that. However noble, however good your stuff is, it's probably one of the reasons why Silverstream didn't just take up arms against Hammerstone. In setting aside the problem with the undead they were having and the numbers they were facing and whatnot, the dwarves nurse their hatred of the Dvergar for millennia, and that's a wider scope. The fight between the surface or the mountain and hill dwarves and the dark dwarves, but this is just a smaller version of that.
Thane, I understood. I understood the ramifications of the choices set before me before I had to make them. I knew what I was getting into, and I knew that I also didn't really have a genuine choice. I could not allow my family to bring such shame to our clan. I could not allow my family to cause such political and cause such problems for the kingdom, for the valley. I couldn't stand by and allow that to happen. And I knew what that might ultimately mean I would have to do. And I took that path fully aware and accepting those potential consequences. And let's just say, I've spent the majority of my life so far, well, I've spent a great deal of time away from my people in a self-imposed exile. I suppose that will just have to continue to be my life. And I'm...
You see that his wife actually steps... Well, his wife steps forward and says, Kola, the path of the warrior, as set by Clangadin, is and can be a lonely path. One hopes to have his comrades beside him or her to face the foes of the dwarves, but that decision is not always possible, nor does Clangadin leave the sole warrior to die a lonely death. But do you know the path of Beranar?
Only in passing, I must confess.
Kola, Beranar, Moradin is the power of the dwarves. Dumathoin, the secrets. Clangadin, the warrior spirit. But Beranar's true silver, she is the soul. All others, the secrets, war, and power, is all to protect one thing: hearth and home. And that is what Beranar stands for. My husband, your Dane, and our Dane, has made clear to me what sacrifice you made willingly to to restore him to his proper place and to free the Dwarven Valley. Though our people have their ways, they will all know to their dying day and to their children's children that you and your friends were true allies of the dwarves of the Dwarven Valley. And Bernard, while this may no longer be your home and your hearth, you are a dwarf. In your soul, your heart needs those to remain nourished. And she looks over at her husband, and who's holding a little box. And he steps forward, and she says, This we've known for many, many years would need a proper home. And if you may not find your hearth and home here, Kola, know that Bernard will always travel with you. And she opens up the box, and what's in there are 2 rings that seem to have been designed so that they're both 1 and 2. They don't move or anything, and it's one of the most exquisite things you've ever seen. This is the band of Bernard. Take this with you, with the blessings of Bernard Truesilver. But this is no simple bauble, Kola. There is the spirit of Bernard herself within. And if you listen, you can hear her words to keep you on your long travels. She takes it out of the box. She carefully takes your hand and places the ring on your finger. And it's not the sort of flush of love that you felt when your mother would hug you as a child when you most needed it, or the flush of seeing a loved family member that you've not seen in person for many, many years. All of those emotions just wash over you. And when you look up and you can see she's smiling at you, and her eyes are heavy with tears because she knows what you are taking on. Now, what this is a very potent magical item. We're going to talk about what things you can do with it as well, but it is powered by charges. It has 20 charges, but each day, once per day, when you enjoy the company of family or found family around a hearth and you share a meal with them, you will regain 1 charge. What you can do with this ring, the ring is animated by a spirit that you may learn more of in the coming weeks and months. But here's what you can do. You may use 1 charge to cast any of these 3. Command, and I'm going to type this out for you. I wanted to have it happen in the session, not in chat. Command, Cure Light Wound, Remove Fear. Those are first level spells that you can use. Third level spells, 1 charge. Continual Light, Cure Blindness, Cure Disease, Remove Curse. For 15 charges, you can cast Cure Critical Wounds, Raise Dead, or Teleport. For 10 charges, you can cast Restoration, Resurrection, or Deflect Dragon Breath.
I mean, I don't know when we need that last one.
Hopefully not anytime soon.
So those are the things that you can, and it will regain 1 charge when you do that. and it has to be an intended shared meal. What she says is that this, we know the cost you brought on yourself to take up arms against your uncle, and we know the loss you will feel ever forward with the loss of your mother. But know that your mother, Berenar Truesilver, the mother of us all, will ever be with you and your family.
I kind of stare at the ring for a few moments, and then slowly look back up at her and at the Dane. I find myself, I'm not a man of many words to begin with, milady, but I find myself unable to find even words to describe my gratitude for this, my humility. You have, well, perhaps you have some idea, but you have brought me a great comfort and a great peace to my heart, to my mind, one that I hope I will be able to understand and appreciate more greatly as time goes on. But I can only say thank you.
So she steps forward, and her face looks a little more grave right now, and she says, thank me not. Such is the will of Berenar, and of course, of the Dane and myself. The Dane is one favored by, but not touched by, the gods. You and I, in the way that we are touched. She steps forward, and her face gets a little, seems to lose a little bit of color. And is there a draft in here? But she says, tell me, Kola, have you seen the tower, the jagged tower of black?
My eyes, I'll get a bit of a dark expression as I feel the chill run through me, and I will whisper back, I saw the tower. And I saw, oh god, no, forgive me. Cause I saw, the Geist of Silverstream himself, or Brunor.
No, Brunor, Battlehammer.
I saw the spirit of Battlehammer. He said nothing. Even when I asked what he wanted of me, all he did was point at me, and then point at the tower. And the next moment he was gone. And I awoke.
She takes your hand and sort of cups the hand that has the ring on it. And she says, I saw the same. Kola, the gods are moving. Those wicked and those wise. I know not what her purpose is for you yet, but I see your fate leads to the jagged black tower. And this, and she gestures to the ring, Berenar wills that you have this.
I know not what this path will lead me to. I know not if I am strong enough to see what needs to be done. But with Berenor's blessing and her strength and her guidance, I will be a willing servant.
She smiles. Now, Kola Hammerstone.
Get the fuck out of here! You don't welcome here.
It has been it has been my pleasure to meet you. But I understand that my husband is throwing a small party for you and your friends. I will not keep you from those festivities any longer. She gestures. It feels like it gets a little bit warmer in here now. Thank you.
My lady, if I may ask one thing, and I know, and I ask this understanding that I don't have any right to ask it, and so if the answer is no, please, I do not take any issue or offense, and I will accept it as it is. I know that what my uncle, what my family, and my mother have done against our people cannot be forgiven. Certainly cannot be forgotten. Perhaps in time, forgiven, I don't know. Is there any way that, now that I am not in a position to see to the typical traditional arrangements, that someone could take care of my mother's remains? At least that she could rest peacefully?
She looks over at Stokely, and he has a bit of a hard look on his face, but they share a look for a minute or no, for a couple seconds, and he nods, and she says, "I will see your mother laid to rest properly."
I thank you. She was not herself in the end, but I understand that she succumbed to the temptation of a promise of life extended.
She holds
when
up
she was basically-
her hand and says, "You need say no more."
Thank you very much.
So, you guys see that Silverstream and Cola rejoin the rest of the party, and that box is not with the Silverstream any longer, and Cola has a pretty fancy ring that he's moving on his finger. So, guys, we were talking about before we before we segued into the chat with that, everyone was kind of laying claim to things here, and I saw at least someone said what Hobbs, I think you're getting. So the Masterwork Bastard Sword, is that going to be +1 to hit, +1 to damage, or -1 to the weapon speed?
I think it has to be +1 to hit.
Okay, you got it.
So Lex was going to talk to the group about that. Like, so he's getting a masterwork bow, a composite bow, and he has a composite bow already. So does one of the other players, like Thomas, do you want to trade your short bow in and take my regular composite bow?
Yeah, I'm not. I'm only competent with short bows.
What do you mean? You're a fighter. You're
Oh, he
competent in
specialized
all-
with short bows, he means.
I specialise with short bows.
Oh, I got it. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm a bit rubbish past 30 yards because I had an injured eye in one of my previous.
Yeah.
Spell on you to get rid of that.
Yeah. The ring can cast a cure critical
Yeah, well,
wounds.
we can maybe.
It's
cure
15
some
charges to do it.
I'll just wait and talk to Gorwin. I don't know if Gorwin has a longbow or a composite or anything.
Okay.
But one of the things Lex is, so when we get into a scrap and there's we need more than 2 people standing up front, Lex, because of his hit points, usually ends up jumping forward. But with just leather armor, or studded leather, he gets hit a lot easier than Thomas and Snore. So I'm wondering if he picks up some masterwork chain.
Are you going to give up doing the 2-weapon fighting?
I most of the time end up with my bow in my hand and a sword in the other. So the dual weapon doesn't really serve me well. And if I got to go sneaking somewhere and I could always keep some leather or some studded in my pack. It doesn't weigh a lot.
Okay.
What do you guys think of that?
Sounds good to me.
Oh, no.
I'm actually thinking about doing something similar since I'm rarely in combat. But I need that extra AC when they do get up next to me.
You guys will all also be awarded each Dwarven Riding Ram. So Alehead will have some allies joining him.
Sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
Was there anything left over for Gorwin?
So who claimed what here? Let's go left to right here. I know Cola got the Band of Baranar. Thomas, what did you take?
I think I took the Mask of Clagadin.
Oh, nice. Okay. Falcaro, what'd you take?
I think me and Store decided that I would get the ring, and he would go for something else.
The Ring of Clear Thought, nice. Lex, what did you take?
The Cloak of Arachnidia.
Nice. Okay, and Store?
The Coin of Luck. And we can give the Helm of Determination to
Gorwin.
Gorwin.
The Gorwin, okay.
Solid.
Excellent. And then the guys decided that Cola would take one Candle of Invocation and Falcor would take the other Candle of Invocation.
Makes sense.
There are 7 things. Who is taking the Potions of Heroism?
I'd say give him one to each fighter.
To like Store and Thomas.
Mhm.
Getting a big
Yeah.
scrap.
I think me and Store.
Okay.
Sure.
So each of you guys has a Potion of Heroism as well. There's 7 healing potions. Oh, 2 oils of timelessness.
I have no idea what to do with those.
if I put them on my face, will my face age less and take care of
It will
those
not.
creases and sunspots?
It needs to be dead things. So I mean, if you plan on committing
So
seppuku,
if Store becomes undead, we can put it on him.
You'll be the best looking zombie anyone has ever seen.
you're so moisturized.
And you said that we each get what's this? We each get a new metal armor, mastercraft quality,
Yep.
and masterweapon. Well, I've already got mastercraft armor, I believe. I was
Okay,
already
so if you got
wearing-
masterwork armor, you could do what Store did and take a masterwork shield in place of the armor.
No, I cannot.
Oh, right, because you're a priest applying it in. Right.
I mean, I could, but
Heretic!
that would be sacrilege. That would be
Why,
sacrilege.
why don't you just get 2 Masterwork axes then?
Well, can't sub the armor for the other. You can
Oh.
take one masterwork.
Right.
And I think he's already got a magic. Doesn't Cole have a magic axe, or is that Paldrinor?
I got Matt Paldrinor and I each took one of the 2 axes we found on the trails down here.
Yep.
Interestingly enough, Kola has still not actually used that axe, so he has no idea what qualities it
Okay.
has.
They will be
so
able to.
maybe I will
Need to
test it.
check?
Maybe.
Yeah,
and
they'll-
check to see.
We'll have them identify it for you, and you'll learn what that is. I'll let you know in chat or in the Discord server what
That
it
way
is.
I can better make a decision about do
Yeah.
I take this new one or keep this thing I have.
Well, this one, if it is magical, because I think you guys use your cantrips to identify that. So it is definitely magical. It's just a question of, so that it's going to be better than what the masterwork is, because masterwork gives a +1 to hit, a +1 to damage, or a -1 to your weapon speed, and a magical weapon does all of those things.
Oh,
Yeah.
well
That's
then.
just-
Now I just need to make sure it's not cursed.
Dex isn't strong enough to carry spare armor.
Okay. Gonna get masterwork nice. Okay, and +1 to damage. Cool. So hit harder.
Yeah, they
so-
get past that damn plate mail.
Yeah.
Chain
Now
mail,
I'll
it
do a minimum
was
of
40
3 damage with an arrow.
So
Excellent.
what does the Masterwork chain weigh?
It's 10% less than whatever chain weighs.
So
I think
chain
everyone's-
weighs 40.
Do not know. I think almost everyone's got their copy of the. Oh, we had our last copy of the. So Hobbs and Mo, your copies of the Player's Handbook should be going out, I think, this week, because I'm waiting for my shipment from Paizo to show up, so I have one trip to the
They
post
got there
office.
yet? Jeez.
What's that?
Still haven't gotten there yet?
No, I'm still waiting on it. I already got word that the next shipment is going to be heading out. Ridiculous.
Wow, we'd be light encumbered.
Okay. So then what he also has what he's going to offer is, for one, for you guys to work with Paldrinor and the small squad that he has put together of people he trusts. What Silverstream wants of you is he is live to what you've said, Store, about, if Cola's not welcome here, then none of us are welcome here. But there are still tasks that could be done. If you guys could go and see what's going on with these 10 towns. He's not saying drive them off. He's saying find out their willingness to bend on them claiming control over all of the Dwarven Valley. If they truly act for the 10 towns and the speaker, or the Grand Speaker or High Speaker, then that's going to be a problem they need to deal with. In the interim, what they might be able to do is try and offer you supplies and whatnot for you to try and seek out your allies. With your riding rams are not really designed for they're not optimized for overland travel, but they have incredibly sure feet. So if you intend on going up or down or around Kelvin's Cairn or any of those regions, you cannot ask for a better mount. So what are you guys thinking?
Alrighty, sounds good. I definitely, we should go to the front, to the southern edge of the valley and check in and see if there's been word from the Regid. And so what, I mean, are we just saying whatever happened to Kessel happened to Kessel? 'Cause as far as I know, we don't necessarily know about this Black Tower, right?
Falcarel has shared his dream about it, and I mean, now that Cola... Yeah, so why don't we talk about that? So, Falcarel... Cola has not had an opportunity to share his vision that he'd had, but Cola, you've missed. Falcarel, why don't you tell Cola about your dream?
Yeah, so this last night before I woke up, I dreamt that I was back in my homeland, green forest, cabin in the woods, old practice field, and I was just shooting arrows into a tree. And the third arrow I drew was pure silver with green fletching, which is the signs of my deity. A hawk was flying in the air, and then the scene shifted to be covered with snow. And my hawk was gone, the cabin was gone, the tree remained. I turned around, and the bushes emerged a black bear that had the markings of my deity, as he often appears to his worshippers in dreams. I followed him to a cliff edge, which was not part of the land where I grew up, and it looked like a blasted land like we are in here in Icewind Dales. And deep off into the distance, I saw a black, jagged spire emanating cold, chilled me to my bones. And then as the clouds rushed in to cover the sky, snow began to fall, I heard the howl of a winter wolf. Far away, but getting closer.
Cola, would you give me you got a religion proficiency, right? Yep, give me a religion check here. There's a pretty good chance that you're going to identify this, but...
Do you think that gives the impression that your goddess is saying that the whole world is in danger from the Winter Witch?
So having said having heard Storr's involvement with the cult of Auril before, you know the Winter Wolf is a sign associated with Auril, the Ice Queen, the goddess of winter.
These are a great many omens coming together. I'll tell him, I won't go through it, RP it, but I will share with the group my dream. You can see that there's some obvious things at play here, some obvious overlap and commonalities in our dream.
So, and to give you guys context as well, so just for the importance of this is not a dream you guys have ever had before. The Forgotten Realms, like, notwithstanding what happens in the novels seemingly constantly, the way they present it is that the gods are distant. They're not constantly appearing and, like, fucking around with each other unless there's some big thing happening, unless there's some big event, like the coming of the avatars or something like that. To have three separate dreams from three separate gods is really unusual. You're not sure you'd ever would have heard of that happening, apart from, times of legend from a century before or more. The coming of the avatars, even.
Yeah, I find all of this deeply disturbing. I know what I have been told about what Lady Silverstein believes I need to do, but if the gods are moving, for what end and what purpose, I don't know, but this is calamitous.
Definitely something must be done about it.
Indeed.
Hobbs, were you saying something?
Now?
I couldn't remember if you said something before that I interrupted, or if you were saying something.
No, I think Andrew was talking then.
Okay.
How does that affect what we need to do? Is what I want to know. Oh, I guess I was asking what, do we need to travel to this
Tower?
black tower? Do we need to go out into the wilderness and find Hengen? We return to Bryn Shander and deal with the situation there, or what?
Right now, all we know is that our destinies are tied to this tower in some way. There's a sense of some urgency, given the fact that 3 of us have had this dream and shared these visions. But we don't yet know a great deal of what that means. I think what we do know that we have some very pressing immediate concerns that are also linked to what's happening in the Dale. We know that whatever the gods have in store for us, whatever lies ahead, we are not ready to take that on until we have better secured the situation and made the Dale, well, if not safe, at least some measure of calm. I would say that this doesn't necessarily change our immediate plans until we know more.
Well, I don't know what our immediate plans are. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Oh, I thought we were gonna go and see if our friends, the tribesmen, had made any progress, or if we can help them resolve their issues.
I mean, the only problem with that is we don't really know where that is.
Or where to go?
That's a fair point.
We sent a message. We sent a message to was it the west entrance or the
Dale Drop?
east? The Dale Drop?
Yeah, the Dale was the north, kind of the north end of the valley, eastern.
Yeah, the northeast to the Dale Drop to see if the Rhaegar tribesmen had made contact. But
Well, we need to take the trip to the southern tip, right? The southwestern trip. That's basically what the Silver Stream's asking us to do.
And
But I mean,
Paldronor and
kinda
his men or men and women, are down at the southern end of the valley, taking control of that region as well too. Remember what, five or 6 days ago they went down there. So you may be meeting up with your ally down there anyway, and some some troops that to be loyal to Silverstream.
So are we going to Kelvin's Cairn, or are we going to Bruner's Climb? I guess that's what I'm confused about. Where is the Black Spire?
Bruner's Climb is part of the Dwarven Valley. That's not where you may be confusing Bruner's Climb and the vision of Brunor Battlehammer that Kola had. That was not on Bruner's Climb. That was on Kelvin's Cairn itself.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
so
Let's
if
take a
Kelvin's
look at-
Cairn is where Kola thinks that he saw the tower in his dream, is that where we got to go?
Yeah, let's just take a quick look at the map of
That's
the.
what I'm asking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the cairn itself, that's where it is the highest vantage point in all of the Icewind Dale. It's where Kola saw it. Though Kola, do you remember where you saw the jagged black tower?
I honestly, I'm forgetting.
Drifting in a sea of ice.
Right. So not here.
That definitely sounds like the north, where the Rhaegar tribesmen are.
Remember that a sea of ice could just as easily be, wide open snowy plains to the untrained eye. It was a dream. It was a vision. It doesn't necessarily mean it's accurate.
But
Yeah,
from
good
the cairn, we would be able to get it. From the cairn, we'd be able to get a glimpse, would we not?
Between now and next session, I'll load the map, guys. But this is, I'll try and hold this up here. Sorry, it's not great. But this here is, there is a whole region called the Sea of Drifting Ice? Sea of Moving Ice. That's off the
Never mind.
western coast.
I think the dream is quite literal.
Yeah. So you can see right in there, the Icewind Dale is right about wrong way. Right about here. And then all of this is the sea of drifting ice, or moving ice.
So
Sure, warm weather clothing out.
There is a dwarven community called Ironmaster on the shores that you guys would not. I'm trying to think if you passed it. No, you didn't. It's to the very, very. It's about a length equal to the length of this map to the west of here. That's the sort of a port city on the sea of moving ice, but if she's in there, like, it's... Imagine using medieval technology to try and navigate the Arctic or the Antarctica. Like, that's sort of the danger associated with that, setting aside whatever things may lurk out there. And on top of that, you don't necessarily know where you're looking just yet.
Yeah. Maybe we should go and try and intercept the black ice going into the human lands. The communities around Lactinish.
Do you guys wish to take the task that Silverstream is offering, or asking you to do, to go and talk to those representatives from the 10 towns, or are you thinking, like, bigger picture you need to be pursuing right now? And
Yeah, we'll do that.
yeah, I think maybe sorting out these claims and saying, well, look, you know, things have changed up here. So I think maybe
Okay.
do that and then decide, because there's obviously something going on in those towns, and that may be related to the change in Bryn Shander. But I think a sort of a longer expedition up Kelvin's Cairn and off to the Ice Dales might take a bit more planning.
Okay.
So Tom thinks maybe try and see what's happening with this claim, because we want to try and, like, stop any outbreaks of war while we try and work out on the bigger picture.
Okay. So I think, guys, with leaving you guys in this party, what we will end with is with a shift in our scene. Our scene now is at a pair of towers that stands before a small gate at the very top of a winding path leading down into the Dwarven Valley. This is the Dale Drop. We see there's a bunch of dwarves that are keeping watch out here. One dwarf comes, stomping up to the top of the tower to look out, and he's brought some hot soup with him. It's being sloshed around in this bowl because of the strong winds coming off of Kelvin's Cairn. And he hands it over to his companion, and we see they're speaking in Dwarvish, so we can only see them through subtitles here. And he says, "Drink it quick before it freezes." And he says, "All right," and starts sloughing it down. And the dwarf who brought the soup looks out over the hills leading, out into the mountainside leading up, and Kelvin's Cairn looms above them like an enormous, sinister presence. And the one dwarf says, "Any sign then?" It says, "No." The first one, "No. This weather seems to have no end in sight." And as he finishes off the soup, he puts it down. "Have you heard word from the town?" And the other says, "Aye. The Dane's back in place then." "Good, yes." The other one says, "Oh, aye. Why don't you go inside? I'll keep watch for a while." And the dwarf who's been waiting outside says, "All right," and heads back in. The lid, or the trapdoor leading in, leaves the other dwarf alone. He leans up against his polearm, looking out. And unfortunately, because of the blowing snow and the howling winds, he does not hear the sound of claws on the side of the tower. And what climbs over the side is something with which you guys are familiar. A massive, feral Yeti. And that is where we will end our session. So, guys, outstanding job. We for those listening at home, we did award XP in our last or in Discord. So the guys got a shit ton of XP from that last one. There's only Astonishing Fortune from today, so you're each gonna walk away with. Well, what I'm gonna give you actually, each of you will walk away with. There's 4. Or did we spend Astonishing Fortune on something?
For my mortal wounds.
Oh, right. Yes, that's right. So for Astonishing Fortune, I'll also give you let's see here. I'm going to give you 200 XP for bringing the story or the saga of the struggle against the Hammerstones to a conclusion. Then you guys will gain, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, divide 40, E is 8. So you guys are going to get 208 each, guys, and then that's before your XP bonuses. Be sure to add your magic items to your character list, and I will post the full rules for them in Discord as well, too, so you can cut and paste that shit right in onto your character sheets. You will be interested to learn what Beriner's band, I suppose, what that full list of capabilities are, Cola. Outstanding role-playing from everyone all around, too. That was a really great job, guys. After so many tactically heavy sessions, it was cool to have more of a chatty planning session. And feel free to talk more on Discord about what you guys want to be doing as your next stage. You can also feel free, with the amount of time you've had, feel free to ask around for more information. If you want to, you would have had time to do that, so I can feed you some more information about the region or about what you're looking for, if you like. But for those listening at home, thank you so much for joining us. This, as is always the case, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns regarding this game, the campaign, or the AD&D in general, please don't hesitate to leave a comment in the comment section of the video, and I will endeavor to reply in a timely fashion. I'm almost caught up on all my comments as of today. In addition, you can reach me on Twitter at Dungeon Musings, and you can reach me by email. My email address is at dungeonmusings. No, it isn't. It's dungeonmusings@gmail.com. That's how you reach me on Twitter. In addition, if you enjoyed the session, I ask you to consider clicking on subscribe and the bell icon so you don't miss any future sessions. I will be posting the schedule for this coming week in the community tab of the Dungeon Musings YouTube channel, and I will also be posting that on Twitter, and I'll post it on the Dungeon Musings Discord server. And you can find a link to the Discord server in the description of this video down below. You can find that we've got channels dedicated to this campaign, this game, and every other campaign we run on the channel, as well as a bunch of other cool stuff like finding a group. I saw someone just posted find a group for a Dark Sun game today, so that's pretty cool. But there's lots of people looking for players for their groups, and you can find discussions of virtual tabletops and streaming and pictures of our dogs and cats and so forth. So lots of great people on there that you can interact with and chat about these games, your own games, or whatever you want to chat about. In addition, there is a link in the description of this video to something called Heroes Save Villages. That is the charity fundraising campaign that we run on the channel, which benefits SOS Children's Villages International, a really terrific organization active in over 130 countries that benefits over 80,000 orphaned and abandoned children. To date, we've raised over $5,000 to benefit SOS Children's Villages International and the kids who benefit from their services. And from now until September 1st, 2020, for every $25 Canadian donated, you'll get one chance to win one or either the grand prize or one of the other cool prizes we have for our annual charity raffle. The grand prize is a copy of Beadle and Grimm's very cool gold edition Eberron Rising from the Last War box set. This is my copy here, but we've got a brand new copy still in packaging. That will be the grand prize for the raffle, as well as a bunch of other cool stuff, including copies of the Astonishing Swordsmen and Sorcerers of Hyperborea core rulebooks. We got a Skittermander dice bag. We've got an amazing dice bag of chainmail crafted by our resident armor smith, Dave. We got some awesome OSR zines from our resident OSR expert, Jason Hobbs. We have some cool stuff from the Dungeon Musings Redbubble store. We also have a copy of the Monsters Know What They're Doing. So there's lots of great prizes. that are all gaming related, in addition to the grand prize. And best of all donations go to help the kids. All donations go directly to SOS Children's Villages International. None of it goes to the channel. None of it goes to any other middleman. And to date, we've raised 850, I think, so far for the raffle. Once we hit 1,000, I will add 2 more items, 2 more prizes from the Redbubble store. And I'll add 5. If we get to 1,500, I will add a prize for me to draw a copy or to draw one of your player characters. Same thing I've done for the player characters in the other games as well, too. So, last but not least, though, I want to give a big thank you to our Quarantine Crusaders themselves. So, guys, Andrew, Mo, John, Dave, and Hobbs, thank you so much for joining me today, guys. Congratulations on defeating one of the adversaries in this campaign. I am looking forward to trying to kill you with a whole new host of adversaries next time. So thank you, guys. Until next time. Then,
Thanks,
guys,
Shadow. Fun.
All right.
for those listening at home, thank you so much for joining us. If you're listening to this during the current the COVID crisis, we hope this finds you healthy, safe, and weathering the current crisis as well as can be expected. And until we see you again, happy gaming.